Hello, I'm Troy Dell. I'm the Director of Athletics here at Frostburg State University, and today I'm joined by rising senior student athlete Molly Biggers, who has served as President of our Student Athlete Advisory Committee over the last year and has been integrally involved in our process of applying to NCAA Division II. We're here today to talk a little bit about some of the changes that are coming, maybe try to answer some questions for one another and for some of you folks. So Molly, can you talk to me a little bit about questions you might still have about the move or things that you're hearing out there and so on and so forth?
Yeah, so the first question is just a general question, like how will we change from Division III to Division II institution?
Yeah, so I think probably the really big thing that's always out there is the quote-unquote scholarship piece, and we refer to it kind of when we're talking about it as grant and aid because it's made up of a bunch of different components and so on and so forth. And really the scholarship is just another way of discounting tuition, so our Division III competitors and so on and so forth discount tuition in a certain way. Division II allows you to do discounting of tuition specifically for student athletes. So I think that's probably the biggest change. I think you're going to see changes in how we monitor and track coaches' involvement with practice and so on and so forth because we have the stronger compliance rules with Division II. I think you'll see more instruction and one-on-one time in your out-of-season segment. You'll have a bigger window to work with your coaches there, so hopefully those student athletes who want that skill development and growth will get that piece as well. My hope is that we're also going to see, or we should see, a decrease in the amount of time spent away from campus because of shorter trips and so on and so forth. So I think those are probably the biggest changes that we're going to face.
Okay. And you had mentioned scholarships. Can you just give me a little more insight to how those will work?
Yeah. So as part of the move to Division II, you can't award scholarships until you've made application. So we made application late January to meet the February 1st deadline. At that point, we started to roll out our scholarship model and allow coaches to start to begin to discuss those things with prospective student athletes. Ours is built on several different pieces. So there's some actual cash money, there's some room money, there's some board, there's some regional and out-of-state waivers, and coaches have all of those kind of tools to kind of mix and match and try to build the best classes that they possibly can. All of our programs have a 4-year plan and they know what their equivalencies are. So basically when I say equivalencies, they know the number of scholarships that they have. The equivalency is the full cost of tuition piece there that breaks out and yields that actual dollar amount. So they've all got those. They know that they're getting 35% of that funding in year one, 25 more in year two, 20 and 20 the subsequent years to get to the full 100%. The other thing that was really important to the executive leadership group and Dr. Nowacek is that we fund our program in a manner that made it equitable or comparable to the other state institutions within the Mountain East Conference. So coming in with similar or close to similar funding and then assessing and building it out from there was really important to how we went about that process. So we will come in at a similar level when we're at 100% to those institutions.
Okay. And then my final question for you is how will the support from fans, parents, alumni, how do you think that will change when we transition to Division II?
I don't think it'll change that much. I think the feedback that we've seen or we've gotten from people verbally or that we've seen out on social media and so on and so forth is I think there's a genuine excitement for what it might yield or what it might bring. I think there are media entities that come along with the Mountain East and NCAA Division II that we've never had available to us as a Division III institution. You know, so I think there's going to be things that are going to enhance their interactions and their experience with it. You know, I think the geographic footprint changed to a little bit more Western will impact our students who are from downstate and their families with getting to games and some of our alumni. But I think there's a really good trade-off there in that, you know, the trips for our student athletes are going to be compressed for the vast majority of them. And, you know, the one thing also that the Mountain East does is almost all of their championships are held at a single site location. Okay. So that single site location will hopefully prevent those really long midweek playoff games where we're getting on a bus and we're headed to Newport News, or we're headed to Salisbury, or we're headed to someplace on a Tuesday that just comes out of the blue because we're the 5th or the 6th or the, you know, whatever seed in the conference playoffs. So I think those are the big changes. My hope is that our alumni and our parents, you know, recognize that and still want to travel to support our student athletes, and recognize that them getting back earlier is really, really important to their success. So Molly, as a student athlete, let me ask you a question. Tell me, you know, what playing Division II, you know, lacrosse next year might mean to you, or might, you know, mean to your peers.
I'm definitely excited to transition to Division II. I think it's going to be nice to be in a different conference, just to face different competition and play different teams you haven't played before. And we've actually had the opportunity to play a Division II team, and it was a good game, so I'm thinking it's going to be a good conference for us to be in.
Excellent. How about when we drill down into some of the other programs? Now, you know, as the leader of SAC and the president of SAC, you get a chance to hear everyone's voice, or at least we try to hear everyone's voice in that forum. Can you talk a little bit about some of the concerns maybe that you've heard over the last 12, 18 months from peers who play other sports?
Well, there have definitely been some rumors regarding Division II, and a lot of them have been that we're cutting certain sports, that certain sports aren't going to get as much scholarship money as other sports, and stuff around those lines. But we've definitely told them that no sports are being cut. We actually added the gymnastics sport. And so field hockey and men's lacrosse obviously were a little nervous for a while because they didn't have their conferences set yet, because they're not going to be in the MEC. But once we found out field hockey is going to run as an independent and men's lacrosse is going to be part of the East Coast Conference, I think their nerves definitely calmed down a little bit, just so they know they have a home in a conference.
Excellent. So, you know, Molly, what other questions might you have, or is there anything that's still out there maybe that's unanswered, or you know, I mean, things that might be good for us to share with folks that you can think of?
I don't think I have any.
All right, so I guess I'll kind of sum up today. I think, you know, we've tried to put out as much information and be as transparent as possible in the process. There are still lots of unanswered questions and things that we're going to face as we go forward. That's why this is a 3-year process, you know, as a provisional member. You know, we look forward to the NCAA getting back to us in early July, mid to early July, with their response to our application. We hope that it'll be favorable, and we hope that as we go forward, we'll be able to come back and share more interesting pieces about NCAA Division II and the things that we're doing on this campus.